Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Oh, we have some energy out there today. Keely does. All right. What do you got?
Good morning. So I sold a house in Meriden, Connecticut, with my buyer, and the seller was there at inspections, and we ended up just hitting it off. And he's a mortgage broker and whatnot. So he's kept in contact with me. He said if I have any clients up your way, I'll absolutely send them that are pre-approved. I vet them really well. I said, okay, awesome. Well, I've gotten a few clients for him, and then yesterday he reached out. He's like, hey, Keel. I've got someone right in Summers, where I live, and it's a buy sell. So I'm like, oh, that's great. So now I have a new listing in town, probably 2 weeks. So it's a buy sell, so it'd be good.
So just to expand a little bit, did you say it was the seller or was the listing agent that you were chatting with?
No, the seller.
The seller. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the seller,
Not your client.
not my client. No,
Not your client.
not
Okay,
my client.
cool.
But yeah, we just hit it off. He was leaving the state, moving down south, and he got divorced and whatnot, so we were just chatting it up, and yeah, so he started
Isn't
sending me
that isn't
people.
that just isn't that just the business though? There's just
Yes.
everybody you talk to is an opportunity in this business, and um you just never know where it's going to go. How long ago was that conversation, Keely?
Oh, it's about a year now. About a
Yeah.
year. Yeah, and he just, we still, maintain, he'll check in every now and again, and hey, do you need any clients, this and that, and will you go to this territory? And sometimes it's too far for me, but this one's in my backyard, so it worked out really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Great share. Great share. Who else has got something? Ooh, I'm going to give it to Angela. It was close.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I had a client reach out to me over the weekend. Actually, someone who found me from my Google reviews, which was kind of cool, reached out, wanted to take a look at a couple homes on Sunday here in Northport. Ended up writing an offer on one of the homes. Just got accepted late last night. And I'm very excited because the listing agent is our very own Roseanne Linders.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Property been on the market a while, or?
Property been on the market just under 30 days, so not very long at all, really, here in Florida.
Yep. Cool. Cool.
Very excited.
I love it. Yeah, it like I always say, I mean, getting started is a nightmare in this industry, and it's ultra frustrating. And I don't think it's this group, right? Unfortunately, this group understands and put in the work. We've got veterans on here. We got second year, third year, fourth year agents that are, have already put in the work. We've got some brand new agents, and I can almost tell when you're brand new and you don't start showing up to this call, you don't really want it. Like, it's what I don't understand what the new agents are doing, right? To go and do deals, to get, and my point is to get the Google reviews, to get the experience. Jump on this call, understand the craft. You should be working at least a 40-hour day. If we have a couple of things that maybe take you a couple hours a week, a couple of trainings that we expect out of new agents, and you can't find 30 minutes to get on a call like this, to be on with veterans, to be on with agents that maybe were in your shoes 2 years ago, to learn the industry, to learn the ins and outs. It's very weird to me. We were so I'm out here in Vegas. Luckily, yes, you have, Carolina. And I appreciate the ones that you don't just start when you're new to learn, but then you come back and you share and you tweak. Hey, I have always thought about how I handle the repair request negotiations this way, but there's another veteran that does it a little bit different, right? And so there's always something to learn in this industry. There's a new way to do it. There's a new tactic. There's a new approach. Yeah, it's I don't know. I love this call, and I love when you guys have energy and you're bringing this stuff. But what I was getting at, I'm here for this Zillow conference, and I went to a couple of masterminds yesterday. You know, a bunch of different groups that I'm a part of. You know, they rent out some rooms, and they talk about some different things, or maybe some stuff that's going to change. And I think there's always like some kind of like overarching theme. And the thing that I keep hearing this year is W-2. W-2 agents are going to be part of the mix moving forward. And it's an interesting concept where I think for the right person, it could be a good fit. So that person that when they come here, they don't have the ability to not take a paycheck for sometimes 3 to 6 months when you're trying to get started in this business, right? But they like the stability. You do have some set hours. You know, the concept would be that one agent is kind of working with the clients from like 8 to 4, and then somebody else has like a 12 to 8 shift. So you have full coverage. You split the weekend duties. You take a day off during the week, and so 2 agents would kind of cover. So interesting concept. I don't know. I wanted to kind of just throw it out there to see what people on this call thought about it. You know, would there be, you know, for some of you guys, I know the ups and downs can be strenuous, you know, and is this an industry? So Redfin has tried this for years, but I don't think their model has worked out, and they've gone away from that W-2 model. I think they've been at it for like 10 years. They've tried supposedly there was a guy actually in the room that was a Redfin manager. He's like, I was there for 7 years. He's like, every 2 quarters, they would try and change the commission structure to get it to work. So anybody have any thoughts? You know, do we think a W-2 person can do the job? Are there, you know, situations where, you know, for a W-2, maybe it makes sense? You know, you're probably leaving some money on the table, but you're going to have some stability. Keely.
So is that W-2, it's kind of like, it would be like a draw, so it would kind of come out of your commissions until you made up to a certain amount, is that correct? Kind of like when I was in life and health insurance, that's kind of what we did.
So the one that I heard yesterday, the model that I heard yesterday is probably like a 40 to 50K base, and maybe you're getting a 10% kicker. Because here, so, and it's not just like in theory, it is, you know, there are, I don't want to say brokerages, it's probably more teams that, you know, maybe they have 20 agents, but 2 are W-2'd, right? And the theory is that like when you are W-2 and we say, hey, you got to do prospecting for 2 hours every day, that's part of the job, then prospecting happens every day, right? For you guys, you have to have the discipline to set it and make sure it happens. And kind of the feedback is when you are kind of forcing somebody, hey, you don't have this job anymore if you don't come in and prospect for 2 hours. All of a sudden, the 2 hours happens every single day, and they end up doing deals, you know, and you're doing a couple of deals a month, and everybody kind of wins. That model actually works out more in the team leader's favor. You probably make a little bit more money on that person, and they get the stability and the real 40-hour work week. You're not having to be on all the time and nights and weekends and stuff like that. So yeah,
Different.
yeah, it's different, you know, and it's not going to be for everybody, but
no, I just think it's important, like, the people that enter this industry, I think it's super important that they understand that you should truly have 6 months of your expenses under your belt before. I mean, if you want to go in and do this full time, it's really hard if you don't have any other income. You know, it's challenging. So, and you have to go full force. And that being said, you really can't do that if you're working another 40-hour job. So if you can save some, you know, have some reserves, I think that would ultimately be the best way.
yeah, I think, and so few people are coming into this with 6 months of reserves, and we see it all the time. 3 months in, well, I got to get a job. We talked about this 3 months ago. We told you this could take a little while. Well, you know, things change, or I spent the money on this, or there's always some sort of an excuse, you know, but you really have to have that mindset that this is a 6-month commitment for sure. Lauren. You're muted if you're trying to go,
Sorry,
Lauren.
I was
There you go.
talking. I said, I saw Martin had his hand up, so if he had something, I would let him go first. 'Cause I just
Yeah,
have
I
a
saw
question.
Martin's hand up. I'm ignoring it. Go ahead, Martin. Did you have something?
Well, he's good.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask the same thing as Keely was asking. That's kind of right. But my other thing is kind of based on your point. You kind of have to be hungry to really do it. To me, I feel like if you have a salary, it can make you a little bit more lazier, less aggressive, if you know what I mean. I mean, and also going to your point, one of the main reasons I waited to go full time for so long is because I had those bills. I had all that stuff too. So.
Yeah, I am concerned about the hunger factor, because I do think you got to really want it in this industry, because if you're just kind of writing offers and, you're not making the extra phone call, you're not doing the extra stuff to get the offer accepted. And, you're doing your job, you're there and you make your dials and you show the houses and you write the offers. But you're not driving the bus, kind of like we talk here, and you're not going that extra mile. And yeah, you wrote an offer, but sorry, we didn't get it. We came in second. Like I don't know. So, but they're telling me there's people out there that it's working for the right person. So, KB.
I was after Lauren.
We're so
Go
kind
ahead.
to each other. I guess my thought behind this is as long as there are all the right metrics in place, right? So you had mentioned something regarding like prospecting, but in my mind, there would also have to be a production minimum in place for it to make sense, right?
Yep.
Obviously, because right, I can't have you in there. You're making your calls, sure, for your couple hours and going on appointments, but if you're not in turn generating any revenue for the business, I can't pay you.
Yep.
So there
Yep.
would
And
definitely have to be a lot more behind it.
that's what they said kind of makes it easier on both parties is like if you really do have somebody that wants to work, you're going to put some metrics in place. You're going to be very clear what those metrics are. Here's our expectations. Here's the phone calls. We know if you make this many phone calls, you should put this many deals together, right? And so if you're doing 2 deals a month, you got yourself a job. If you're not, there's not a job here for you. So it'd be very clear expectations up front. And I think, you know, it's not rocket science, this business, and we see it all the time. I mean, the agents that have success coming through kind of our boot camp, where we bring them in, we turn, give you some training, turn on the leads. It's the ones that put in the work, right? And some people have a better personality for it, maybe a little bit better drive, maybe a little bit better why, but it's typically just whoever comes in, they're at every training, they make their dials, with our new, system where you got to come in and we want you calling the AI. It used to be you get on a call every morning like this, and I'm going to do objections with you. And it's going to be very difficult, and there's going to be no escaping. So if you didn't practice your conversations, I'm going to put you on the spot in front of your peers like this, and you're not going to want to embarrass yourself. So people knew their scripts, they knew their objection handlers, right? And now we've been a little bit more lenient, but now we said, okay, we've got some AI bots, and you can do this in the privacy of your own home. Go work on your skills, go make the phone calls, right? And we're seeing some people come in and they're making dozens of calls a day. They're really working on the craft, and others won't dial the phone. How do you expect us to give you the leads if you're not putting in the work? So it's pretty telling, Margareta.
Morning. It's fascinating to me because I almost feel that maybe that's the reaction to the current workforce. The current younger workforce has a very different mindset around things, and hate to say it, maybe they're not as go-getting as the prior generation. They don't have that entrepreneur. I mean, some of the young people, I'm blown away by how entrepreneurial they are. But yet there's that mindset like it's supposed to be somehow easy and given and fun. And if I'm not making money, go piss off. So I wonder if that is maybe their solution to it, that it's like, okay, we'll break you in and see if you're really working out and if you love it and if you got it.
Yeah, and I hate to, stereotype a generation, but because there's definitely exceptions to the rule, but I think we're seeing a lot of that. We're bringing in, I don't know, 8 to 9 agents a month. Maybe 1 or 2 make it. It's interesting. KB.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I think a lot of it has to do with the HTV HGTV stuff. Like these kids, I mean, I've met with a lot of new agents and they're like, I asked why you wanted to get into real estate and it's, oh, well, it looks like it would be fun. Or I really loved house hunters, or, you know, and I think that the glitz and the glam of the job, the perception of the glitz and the glam of the job really draws people in, but they don't understand how much work it really does take in order to be successful. So that's my thought on that. And then my thought on the employee real estate agent is, I think there's a place for it with really strong metrics in the beginning, but I don't think that it's something that anyone would want to do long term, right? Because once you get good, there's just too much opportunity for you to make more money and maybe not have to work as hard, right? So like in the beginning, maybe 0 to 6 months or 0 to 12 months, you take a paid position because you don't have the income, right? And you're working on prospecting and you're working on helping generate transactions for the brokerage. Then maybe 6 months in, when you're capable of doing that, you take some of them and a draw is available to you. And then after that, you kind of know what you're doing at some point, and then maybe you're just functioning as a regular agent. So I think that there's definitely a place for it, but I personally don't see people taking that path and staying on that path. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
second.
yeah. So I guess that was one of the questions that, or concerns, I think that somebody raised up, and I guess it's just a personality type thing, where there are certain personality types that they realize they're leaving money on the table, but they just want the stability. So that they have, you know, there's a couple of groups that have been running this for a few years, and they are retaining people on this model for more than, because that was kind of my initial thought, but somebody brought this up, that this would be kind of a way to jumpstart. But it seems like it's something that's been holding on for longer. So yeah, I appreciate, you know, the different feedback and stuff. You know, my job, again, as always, is to go to these things and travel. And I hate these 3-hour time differences, and it really messes with my sleep. But luckily, I was able to get this done today and get on here. And I'm actually full of energy this morning, and I'm glad you guys are too. But you know, it's to go and look at this stuff and put you guys in the best position. Maybe there's some agents that we brought on that would have been better if we could have had this model or offered this. So these are the types of things that, you know, hopefully there's going to be a couple of more ideas out here that we get, that we can share and we can discuss and see how does it fit, how does it work, what's the future, where are we going. Margareta.
Just to conclude on this, I guess, I don't know. The bottom line is, you know, I just thought of renters. You know, there's the renters mentality, there's just the buyer mentality, to bring it to our level. You know, when you screen for renters, there's a certain thing that you kind of when you do it long enough, you can recognize the one that will always have credit issue. They'll never be able to buy that house, but they're a very good payer and very good renter. I think it's the same thing with workers. There's some people that are just, you know, have that, you know, there's a whole psychology behind this, that will have a different personality type or drive, whatever you want to call it, versus people who just will be the renters of the world of real estate. So that just popped to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Redfin manager spoke up when this came up. He said their top agent, now he was in, you know, I think he was in Silicon Valley or something, managing for Redfin. He said their top agent, I think, had been with them for like 7 years. She did like 120 million last year and made like 300,000. You know, 120 million. You guys do the math. As an individual agent, you're going to make a lot more than 300,000. So, but you know, how much of that is a lot of Redfin just going, here's another client, here's another client, here's another client, right? It's not a lot of self-gen. So it's interesting. Who else is, Martin, go ahead.
I think that comes to with a comfort level where you have people that will stay. Like my wife's a perfect example. She's been with the same company for 20 years now. And I ask, are you ever going to leave? Even though she's sometimes bored with her job, she's like, no, because she's comfortable there. So I think that's where if you get somebody that's good, and sometimes they, like that person you were just talking about, maybe they're just comfortable not having to worry about fishing, if you want to call it.
Yeah, it's, you know, I think why a lot of us are on this call and in this industry is that's just not us, right? But there are people out there that are more like that. Maybe some of you guys are. and you've still found your way to this industry. But I think typically who's coming here is and succeeding is the one that want a little bit more reward when I put in a little bit more work, right? This isn't typically the group that just does kind of the bare minimum and takes a paycheck and goes home. KB.
Yeah, if we want to get off this topic, we can, but like I definitely I feel like I am more of the person that likes the stability. I can do both. And that's one thing that, like, if I have to work my ass off, I will work my ass off. And I know that I'll crush it. But if I don't have to, what drives me is people. Money has never been something that drove me. So I will work my ass off and make less money if the people are happy. So I think that it also depends on just the type of person you are and what drives you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not a financially motivated or driven person, usually you don't get into sales, right? But I think real estate is a little different because it draws different types of personalities, because there are a lot of people in this industry that are very similar to me, and they're doing this for the people, so I think it's unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I think unfortunately that those types of people, because I've seen it, I've been doing this since 2007. And unfortunately, if you're not in a system like we have, those people are in and out of the business in a couple of years because they won't go out of their way. They're not the person that's really pushing at the backyard barbecue for the business. But if you handed them a client, they would treat that client like gold and do an amazing job. It's the foundation of why I built what I built. I would see all these agents come into Century 21 and be out in a year, and they were great, and they took the training, and they followed all the instructions that we gave them, and great humans, and no clients, right? And that's the difficulty of this business, is getting the business. It's always been the hardest part. Is how do you get the business? And it takes a while to get your feet off the ground. And it's you look at the top producers around you, you get in and you're thinking, oh shit, I want to be like that. Well, that person's been doing this for 15 years. 15 to get to that point. And it was only in the last 5 that they started to have that level of success. You're in year 1. Right. And so it takes a long time in this business to build it up, but you get in and it's like comparison bias where you're on social media and this person's doing 10 million and they're a top producer and I want to be like them. They're no better than me. I should be able to. It's like, no, they've been, in year 1, they did 1 deal, and in year 2, they did 4, right? They were kind of part-time and they were just chipping away. And in year 3, they did 6 deals. So it's like, it just takes a long time in this business, unfortunately. And so you combine that comparison of social media with this I got to have it now world that we're in. And it really is a recipe for disaster for a new agent where you're going, oh my God, I'm just never going to make it. You've been, and from a leadership perspective, we're looking at it going, you've been in it for a hot minute. You've been in this for 12 months. Like, give it 4 years, 5 years, so you can start to see some, of what Keely just got with the person she talked to a year ago, right? That can't happen in your first year because there was no conversation a year ago with some guy while you're waiting. What was that conversation while you're waiting in an inspection? Was it our final walkthrough? What was it?
Inspection.
Inspection, right? Like if you're in this for 3 months, there was no conversation a year ago that could generate that client to give you the referral to. So, all right, we've spent a while on it. Who else has got something? We got 5 minutes left. Somebody's got to have something weird going on a deal. So just a couple of things that kind of came across my desk. We had a list side accept a FHA deal, knowing that the basement wasn't permitted, and now it came up at appraisal. So I guess they were trying to hope that this wouldn't come up, and it's going to cost over $20,000 to remove everything to get the permit or relist it. So I don't know that there's a way to kind of avoid this scenario. I don't know whose scenario this was. I don't know if it was somebody on the call. Is it somebody on the call that's running into this? I don't know which side we had. I don't know if maybe one of the leaders, I think Nicole, that was your share. Is Nicole on? If she's on this morning or not. She's not. You know, like if you don't know that that basement wasn't permitted, you know, I don't think it's one of those things that you're necessarily going to ask. So you've got an FHA buyer, you put your offer in, basement looks finished. You know, it's not necessarily one of these things as an agent, you know, we got to go look to see if they pulled the permits and everything like that. It's kind of a gray area. You know, I think we, in one of our disclosures or one of our emails say, hey, you should probably, you know, we're recommending to the buyer that you should call and make sure there's no open permits. But when you get yourself into this position now, we've got an accepted deal. Appraiser comes in and says there's no permits for this. You know, the conversation's got to be with the list agent. Look, I get that this isn't what you were looking to spend, but now you got to disclose this, one, right? And you know, two is you're going to have to fix this. The town's going to be on you, so it's going to get reported back to the town probably, and you're going to have yourself a can of worms here. So you can come back to market, or you can try and work with this current buyer. So can we do, you know, get the work done? Can we get some money in escrow to get it done post-closing if the lender's okay with it? Can we get something done, you know, once we've got a appraisal or mortgage commitment in place? So, you know, can we, hey, it's going to be 25,000. Can we do the bare minimum somehow just to get it through permits? You know, maybe that 25,000 included some upgrades or some doing it the way that they wanted to do it, but maybe we could do it a little bit on the cheap, just to get this through the process, and then the buyer could take on the rest of the responsibility. So there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. Margareta?
I don't have so much on that, but I wanted to see if anybody worked recently with VA loans, because I have a deal going on, and based the lender, which is Fairway, one of the groups, they're saying that technically the only thing that's required with VA loans now is just the VA inspection. You know, before you had to ask for deposits back. You know, the buyer couldn't pay for anything. Apparently, that's all waived. I just want to confirm with anybody who had a VA loan recently, because it seems like a moving target here.
Yeah, that's my understanding too, that they have now allowed the buyer to pay for stuff, because I think what they decided was it was hindering the buyer to not be able to pay for stuff. It was, you know, putting them at a disadvantage in negotiations. So I believe the buyer can pay, they can get credits. And yes, you do still have the, it's not an inspection, but it's the VA appraisal. That's just a, you know, yeah, the VA appraisal is a little bit more in depth than your traditional appraisal, just like the FHA one, where they're looking for certain things. I don't know if anybody wants to speak specifically. I don't know if anybody knows off the top of your head the difference between what an FHA appraiser is looking for and what a VA appraiser is looking for. Is there any difference there? Or is it pretty much the same chipping paint, handrails? Anybody know specifically? My understanding is
I'm trying to get my license in appraising, so I will let you know. So
my understanding is I think they are separate. Like I'm pretty sure like a couple of my appraiser friends, like they might have been FHA, but they didn't have their VA. I think it's two separate certifications that you have to get. I gotta believe they're slightly different. I don't know if anybody else can speak to that.
yeah, but it makes it a very, you know, very good. Before, VAs were a little bit harder to get accepted, but I feel like now it's actually a very good product. So
Yeah,
just got to
yeah.
make sure that people understand that.
Yeah, well, I think most listing agents aren't going to really understand it, and that's why my advice is always, if we've got FHA or VA for a borrower, we want to do everything that we can, if possible, to get them approved conventional, so that we can send over both pre-approvals with the offer to say, hey, look, we're going to be going VA, but just want to let you know this guy, you know, this borrower does qualify for a conventional. They're just trying to take advantage of their VA benefits, or they're going FHA because financially it makes more sense for them, to just take a little bit of the you know, fear mentality of accepting an FHA. Now, it doesn't take away the fact that once they go VA, the appraisal is different, or once they go FHA, the appraisal is different. So you're still dealing with that on the list side. So it hasn't taken that away, but you're just trying to say, like, this isn't a, you know, borderline borrower, right? And I guess in theory, you could say as part of the offer, if so many things come up FHA, they'll move to conventional because they have the ability to do that, right? If your borrower is willing to do that. I don't know if anybody's gone down that route. Anybody have a borrower going FHA, issues come up, they could go conventional, so they did to get around the issues because the seller wasn't willing to fix. Okay. But that is a viable scenario that could happen. So if you've got FHA or VA borrowers, I would definitely try and get them pre-approved conventional. I think it'll strengthen your offer situations, and they could still go VA or FHA, but I think it would help to get that offer accepted if the listing agent knew they were pre-qualified the other way and willing to go conventional if push came to shove. All right, I am going to go sit in a bunch of meetings and hopefully come back with some cool stuff to share with you guys in the morning. So appreciate you. Go have yourselves a killer Tuesday, and we'll do this again tomorrow morning. Take care.
Thank you.
Guys.